everybody. Hi. We are going to proceed. It's great to see you all. See so many familiar faces and new faces as well. So this is the second event in our self-improvement, self-development, mind-body events, and can't wait to introduce our speaker. So how often, I've got a few words prepared, so bear with me as I walk my way through these. So how often do you get an opportunity like this to introduce Jamie Catto? So Jamie is actually fresh from America, from the American launch of Becoming Nobody, a film about spiritual teacher Ram Dass. Who has heard of Ram Dass? Brilliant. It's your type of audience, Jamie. And Jamie is my kind of somebody. So looking around, I reckon it's not just me who encountered Jamie as part of the dance act Faithless. Those days shaped body, mind and spirit for a generation of young people and paved the way for many of us to explore consciousness and find purpose. Jamie's creativity and passion led him into corporate settings, supporting a new wave of businesses to find out what thinking differently means actually in practice. He's provocative with his work, he's playful, something his young children are a touchstone for, I understand. And he has a great mix of confidence and vulnerability, and that's squashed into so many people. Jamie's been on this path now for many, many years. He will share all of that insight with you. I've been aware of Jamie for some time through friends in and around Ayurveda, and his name's popped up in different places about relationships, making things happen, and being true to yourself. And I knew Jamie was the right person for our second event because he's in tune with people who are on the path to wellness, who are opening themselves up spiritually, and who are connecting with deeper levels of consciousness within themselves. Just a little bit about us as an organisation. We've recently opened up a wellness centre in the Vale of Belvoir, and really the idea is to gain more traction and open more people up to the tools and the techniques that we can find to help support us on this path. So I'd like you to place your hands together, which is about the union of a prayer, and then separate them, which shows the forces of the tools we have. And then if we can do that lots, please. Over to you.
That was brilliant. How do you follow that? Crack on. Good evening. Just take a minute to let everything that isn't in this room be not in this room. Can you hear me when I speak about this level? Just, or it's like totally good? Yes. The reason I'm going all around the place doing this at least half the time now, and being with groups of people, sometimes creatives, sometimes nurses, sometimes training clowns, hospital clowns, a big diversity of different people, also companies like Google and Pepsi, under the sneaky way to get through the door with things like how to create a workspace fit for humans. Really what I'm interested in any group of people is that we are super efficient. No matter what tools we're exploring, whether it be the more fluffy side of spirituality, which is really off-putting to most people because of the sort of dolphins and the rainbows and the irresponsibly sourced crystals. There's a lot about some really vital information that is hidden either behind those kind of trappings which put people off, or religious trappings, crucifixes and which has also been materialized into something meaningless to a lot of people. So It's like, for me, there's this incredible pile of treasure, of incredible efficient tools that any Tom, Dick or Harry would be ripe for. Just any person with a brain in their head could see the sense of. But probably 95% or more people are steered away by how horrid the taste is, or the certain people who are up front in those genres who are like, everything's perfect, you know, like sort of like preposterous and nonsensical. So it's weird how such incredible treasure, to me, actually it's not weird, it strikes my OCD in the worst way, that there's this incredible potential of just simple, efficient tools for people to totally transform, and I don't say it in a Tony Robbins kind of like, totally transform your life. I mean, really turn the whole anxious, manipulative, strategizing, dramatic, melodramatic drama into something which is genuinely peaceful, fulfilling, and joyful. So I just feel so passionate, whether it be through films I make or albums I make, or through working with groups and playing these kind of games we're going to play this evening, that there is just so much potential. I'm quite a lazy person, and we don't need, in order to fish around in the stuff that's going to reclaim all this treasure from how edited and shut down and anxious and playing it safe we are, that people think of shadow work and the kind of stretching ourselves into the next place and creating our future as the next most powerful or the next more deserving version of ourselves. People think of it as some big, exposing, fearful, phantom-led thing because it's all so unknown. And we keep such a tight grip on looking safe and looking normal. I mean, you guys have done a brilliant job this evening of looking like normal people. You're fitting in, like, you know, most of you are looking vaguely clean. And you've got clothes on there. Oh, I'm a person. I can sit in a room with other people. Fine, you know. But as if nobody else, because you would assume no one else in this room really knows what a totally crazy lunatic you are behind the eyes. And it's true for everyone. Can you imagine if the people in your life could hear your inner dialogue on a daily basis? Just think about that. Think about your inner dialogue of the last couple of days. Some of the highlights, some of the bloopers. Just think about those moments. Yeah, those outrageous, murderous, maybe. You know, if people could hear your inner dialogue, you'd all be fired. You'd be done. There'd certainly be no more Reiki clients for you. And everybody thinks that they're the most crazy one in the room. But the truth is that everybody is doing an amazing job of looking what our general culture has all agreed is kind of normal and sensible. And it can get a very, very tight kind of avenue, the shop window that we decide to show to the world compared to the mental asylum that's going on behind the eyes. The shop window that we show the world, it can be quite a tight fit. And we can actually exhaust ourselves often wearing the mask to be this one for the parents, that one for our husband or wife, this one for the kids, this one for the people at work. Limiting the spectrum of who we are because you don't want to look stupid, you don't want to look vulnerable, you don't want to stick out, you don't want to look needy, you don't want to look greedy for attention, you don't want to look 17 other things that your life growing up showed you were wrong and mustn't be seen about you. So as we're growing up, all these parts of ourselves get edited away more and more and more. There's a brilliant book called Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford, where she says, when you're born, you're a castle with 1,000 rooms. And first of all, your parents, they go, darling, we don't really use these rooms over here so much, and they get boarded up. And then more and more as you grow up, different people walk through your castle, and they tell you which rooms they like better than the other rooms. And more rooms fall into disuse until you arrive here today as an adult thinking you're a 2-bedroom flat in Nottingham that needs some work. And that's because we've edited ourselves down from the big spectrum of who we are, you know, and we were taught, and all those parts of ourselves that, you know, because we've brought up in kind of a weird way in our culture where it's like, when you're being taught how to be a person, it's kind of, or certainly probably when we were growing up at least, it's been much improved now, but when we were growing up, the way you were taught to be a person is that when you got it right, you got the love channel was open and you got tons of love, and oh, well done, everything was groovy. But when you got it wrong, it was kind of taken away, either in a small way or a big way, or if you were born before 1971, a whack around the head. You know, we have to accept most of us grew up in a by today's standards, a borderline abusive environment. No question about it. We were all whacked around in school or whatever, you know. By today's standards, that was just like not okay. So that frighteningness of the difference between it all being loving and groovy to the sensitivity to a child suddenly get whacked or suddenly, stop, that's disgusting. You know, those moments, do you remember them when you were little? They like really impact your chest. And we made decisions, big decisions in those lives. Whatever I was doing right then, no one must ever see me being like that or doing that ever again. Be a good girl for mummy. Oh, that wasn't being a good girl. All right. Edit, snip. Strong boys don't do that. Oh, don't they? Okay, snip, edit. Pretty girls don't do that. Whatever. Edit, snips. You have no idea how many different trajectory-altering edits we made as children just to keep that. Am I welcome here? Is love open? Are we all right? You know, just to keep that okay. And that's gone into our adult lives, has really tightened up the amount of us, you know. And anything that we felt a big shame about or got laughed at about or something really hurt about, we would have made a particular pin in there going, don't want to feel that one ever again. Your job, little 5-year-old inside, is now your job to guard that door and make sure I never feel ashamed in that area ever again. And whatever age we were when we had that trauma, we leave a little version at that age to guard that door. And that's why you don't just have one monkey mind, you have the whole cast of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in your head, because we have all these different characters we left to make sure I never look vulnerable, make sure I never fail publicly, make sure I never look ugly, make sure I look like I'm succeeding or I'm fine or I'm not greedy, or you know, whatever is your particular list of must and must nots from your childhood. And weirdly, we live religiously by that matrix as adults. Even we never question it again. We just think that's who I am. I'm not creative. I don't sing, or I don't feel comfortable with my body, or I don't, you know, tons of it to do with disconnection from the feeling of feeling juicy and alive and enjoying the sensuality of our body. Everybody, you know, before 1970 had some sort of an experience where they were shut down, or they were hurt, or they were told off for being disgusting, or they were stopped at. It's, you know, everyone was so tight around things to do with the body that the atmosphere of that was just came into us, you know. You just know there were certain things you didn't do. And also, all those parts of us that we went, well, that's gone, we can't amputate them. You couldn't snip them off. You can't edit them away. They can only be suppressed because it's life, it's part of you. So they can be suppressed. And it tends to be actually a little bit of inside information that those parts of us, a bit like a beach ball, the further you push them down under the water, the more violently they want to fly back up. One of the annoying facts of this universe. So that's why they say, beware the anger of the quiet man. Oh, yes. We all know a couple of those. Yeah. So the reason I start with this is there's two main predicaments we're definitely in. Even before we start about creating our future, let's just talk about where we are now. One is this incredibly edited, often afraid, you know, you've got your nice shape of who you are, which is like a nice map. I've edited myself down to this. This seems to be working well for me. Thank you very much. Don't fuck with it. And you make a map of yourself, and it's almost got dragons around the edge. You know, that there be dragons around here. You know, we don't want to. Anything that in our life drags us towards that edge where we don't want to be, we complain about those people, manipulate them, fight them, draw up new boundaries with them, complain about them on Facebook, run straight to Facebook, run straight to the fridge. We will do anything but be taken to that edge once we've set it. And anyone that tries to bring us there, you know, can often become an enemy. We've become so scared of anything outside of our nice little comfort zone of how we think we've set ourselves up. Thank you very much. But it's so minute. It's such a smaller version of who you are. The limit of potential in this little, it's like 20% size people, I think, everyone's walking around. From the groups I've worked with for now like 9 years, the difference between how people arrive and the potential that is on offer. You don't have to take it all, but just to know it's there, to know that you're choosing from a menu that is like vastly bigger than you think right now, that calms down my OCD. Because that lack of everyone walking around like a zombie, basically most of the time in some disconnected mental state as a regressed child, trying to make sure this doesn't happen or make sure this does happen, or fantasizing or complaining or trying to strategize things, rather than actually really be the wise, kind, peaceful version of you who you really are. So how much of our life is spent just with equanimity, actually enjoying where we are, and how much is spent head fucking somewhere else? That's all the different characters in our life that are trying to keep us safe, those little bodyguards we put next to all those doors. They become this radio station in our head of protection and keeping it safe and keeping the status quo. You have voices in your head? I don't think I'm the only one. When you get triggered, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling somebody spoke to you in a tone of voice you didn't like. Think how long you can spend on the car journey just turning that over and over and over, and what they should have said and what you'll say to them later, or what you should. It's amazing. One little like sort of trigger, like a little peanut, one bit of grit in your oyster, and it's amazing. But it becomes when you look at it a certain way and you start becoming entertained by the things you react to, rather than trying to run away because I don't like edgy feelings. When you become interested in it, and that's what it's all about this evening, is being curious about all the stuff we run a mile from. And I'm not saying we're going to run in and straight across our boundaries and straight into the deep water and here are my nipples. It's not a big it's not a big exposure thing. It's not deep scuba. I'm a very lazy person. I like low-hanging fruit. I'm only interested in you totally staying inside your comfort zone. I mean, you can stretch yourself out of it to the edge of it, all you please. You will be supported, but you don't need to. Just by gently snorkeling around the edge, consciously with awareness, you will be amazed at all the kinds of things you'll find without any exposure necessary. So I feel really passionate, number one, about the fact that my body, which I know and yours to be the most amazing self-mending machine we know of in the universe, like Deepak Chopra says, it's an exquisite pharmacy. It's constantly mending itself. I mean, you scratch yourself. I've got many daughters, so I know this to be a fact. You scratches all over. They just, can you see any now? No, they go away. But also, if you break a bone, it knits itself back together. Just think about that. Imagine you hadn't heard that before. That is pretty amazing. I'll have a body that does that. Yes, thank you. And not just that, but as we sit here right now, your whole body is scanning for bacteria and viruses without you knowing it. It's just doing its own thing. Don't worry. You don't have to do anything. It's part of the package. It's all included in your Earth Sim 80-year thing that you've signed up for. And it's scanning for these bacteria and viruses. Then, when it finds something, which you also won't know about, it then makes its own drugs, secreting stuff, glands, nodes, mixing it together, and then administering it to you in the perfect quantities, day and night, while you're sitting here, while you're at work, while you're playing squash, whatever you're doing. Something at that level of genius is always trying to make itself whole again, mend itself back to like as whole as it can be. It knows. Do you think it's not stupid? It knows that we've carved up ourselves into all this much, much smaller shape. It knows that we are sitting inside this great bit of editing. Life's genius wants to constantly try and throw open all those doors and get us back to wholeness again. So no matter how well we think we've edited ourselves down, and that part of me, no, put that in the shadow, no thank you. No, I can't. No one can ever see me angry. Put that one in the shadow, thank you very much. Most people are only seen angry when they're out of control and regret it. No one really voluntarily is seen angry. That's why when I see people who are angry, that means pretty much mathematically to me, if I see someone really expressing anger in that way, where they're at someone, not just like embodying it, but they're firing it at someone or something in a sort of blamey, the victim way, my first thought is they are in panic. That's really what that anger is. If someone is that out of control that they're shouting at you, it means that a very vulnerable part of them is in panic. Must be. So who here grew up in a house where your natural inborn fiery rage was fully upheld and supported? Hands up. Yeah, I know, it's not surprising. No, of course not. A natural part of us, but we all learned that was naughty. You didn't express anger as a child. No way, that would be like an awful, naughty thing to do. So all those times it got gulped back. All those times when you were 3, even as babies, we put a little plastic fake nipple in their mouth to shut them up. They call it a comforter. For who is the question? But you are known to cork your anger. And like imagine that for each of us in this room now, 365 days when you were 3, gulping back every single time. 365 days when you were 4, anytime you're angry, not expressing it. When you were 5, 365 days when you were 6, you're not even 7 yet. Now you're here in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, still having been doing it. It's no wonder that each of you is this incredible ball of rage waiting to explode. At the slightest thing, someone driving too slowly in front of you, someone doing something stupid, someone with bad manners, they should fucking die. Don't you think that sometimes? Isn't it disproportionate? What they just did compared to the death sentence you want to give them. There's a reason for that. It's because of all those gulp back times you didn't do it. You're not just feeling the pain of that idiot. You're feeling the pain of all the idiots, all the way back of the idiots of that lineage who treated you that way. There's different lineages of idiot. And when someone upsets you, don't just feel the upset of that. You feel the whole of all the people that treated you like that, all the way back to being a child that you can, and it may not be the anger, it might be the blacked up tears. Most of us didn't grow up in a place where our crying was fully upheld. Anybody? No. So that goes into the shadow. And when we talk about the shadow, by the way, people get freaked out when they say like it's a shadow workshop. Not that this is a shadow workshop, but I mainly do shadow workshops. It comes into everything. Because it's the part of us that we've hidden away. It's not the part of us that's the dark side. Don't panic. People think the shadow, oh God, my yucky stuff, my dark stuff. No, shadow doesn't mean dark. Shadow means in the shadows, hidden. So it's really important to make that distinction before you show up at shadow workshops. And make sure the teacher does too. Or you might be cavorting around punching a pillow for mummy. You'd be in totally the wrong place. We don't do that. Yes, we have to. Yeah. So no, very gentle, low-hanging fruit. And the body's genius is trying to set up situations and trying to have those parts back there, trying to come forward. And the more we suppress them, these different millions of parts, I mean, yes, those parts, the crying and the anger went into the shadow and is all backed up, which is why we overreact to people. But also, who here grew up in a home where your natural, inborn, flamboyant entertainer was fully upheld and supported? Okay, 1.5 out of 50 or 40 or something. So almost none. No, and that's a beautiful part of you, a beautiful, legitimate part of you that might want to tell a joke or teach everyone something or do something which involves, you know, but we were taught, weren't we, that was like being an attention whore. It was greedy. There was something greedy. Like, and if you were telling a joke as a child or being slightly sort of like entertaining and like silly, and you got the killer blow from the elder sibling or the whoever that said the immortal words, "Stop showing off in front of your friends," was the killer harikiri. And now next time you want to do that, it's tagged with a little bit of shame and risk. And a few more of those, and you will tremble to get up in front. You know, if someone asks you to be the best maid of honor or best man or something, you'll have to write it first. You won't trust your mouth because you might be exposed, and you might be like, you suddenly think you're exposed to the possibility of all that childhood trauma. You don't realize it in your mind, but suddenly there's great risk and exposure. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I could choose one of you now to come to the front and just be interesting for 3 minutes. In fact, let's do that. I'll pick one of you now to come to the front and just tell us about yourself for 3 minutes and try not to be boring. Who should we have? Tell me honestly, with a show of hands, who felt some adrenaline a little bit in their body waking up? Everybody, really honestly, did anybody feel any chemicals coming up? Everyone except you. Cool. Yeah, sure. So, can you see how easy I can just get into your body like that? That just totally proves my point of how edited the panic for maybe some of you that it might be that exposure. That's how you are unconsciously living your whole life, turning left and turning right, based on protecting this kind of stuff that you don't even know is in there until suddenly you're at risk. There's a motion-sensitive camera, it's going to pull me to the front. Suddenly, the adrenaline, what would I say? Fucking hell. Who planned the first thing they would say in case it was them? Come on. Did I give you a little trauma? Let's just rub our chest a little bit. Come on, hands on the chest. Make this sound with me now. Make this. Always do that many times in the day. It's the most, any spiritual workshop you go to, any self-development, well-being, all that stuff, the most core tool they can ever teach you, just take it, use it 50 times a day. I do. when anything pretty much happens you don't like, just put your hand on your chest. That's a tapping on it, yeah. I'm giving it a different soothing thing, yeah. Not that tapping on it. And just make that cooing sound. You can stroke your cheeks, go, all right, little cheek. And if you're not treating yourself like that, you are asleep, in my opinion. The model that I work from. If you can't treat yourself like that, don't bother doing any yoga or going to any retreats. Because if you're not coming from this, and this totally eternally patient, finding every failure more adorable than the last, none of the other practices are literally worth doing. If you're not coming, if that you isn't awake, now it's awake. Hi. This is the you that's, I think, the real you, the one that would do that. And the other ones are, oh, mustn't eat. That's the committee of monkeys that are trying to keep us safe. And they so use our voices like ventriloquist puppets. They really make us think that when someone triggers you, you go, yes, this is what I think. I'm going to write this, and up yours too. Send. When you're doing that, you're absolutely sure this is exactly what I think. I'm not triggered. This is what I think. And it's only later when you've calmed down that you go, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I press send. But we're so sure when one of those characters that feels self-righteous, or one of our bodyguards basically, who's guarding those doors, never let me look like they got one over on me. Let me look like a loser. Right, fuck you. And later you find out apologising, you actually say the words, that wasn't me. And actually, I believe in a way you're right, because this is you. You wouldn't write an email like that. You would only do it if you were triggered and this one was fast asleep, because this lovely, wise, kind you, who I think's the real you, gets spiritual narcolepsy the moment there's the slightest trigger or discomfort. And that's the situation we're in. That's the predicament we're in as humans, is there is a lovely, wise, kind version of us that can totally handle everything, even some pretty heavy traumas and heavy shit when we're present and we can be with ourselves and we know the kind of people we can be with and we trust. But the slightest, we become so fragile about our comfort or how we looked or how they talk to us, or those things, they just make us go straight to sleep. And suddenly another one of the bodyguards is in charge. And knowing the difference between this lovely, wise, kind one and the one that jumps in to strategize, manipulate, protect, fight back, whatever, knowing the difference between the real you and that is the secret to a happy life. End of. I mean, you could leave it there. Just knowing the difference, whether you're awake or whether you're asleep, strategizing, controlling, manipulating, and being a busy knickers in a melodrama. So my favorite teacher, who we just made this film about, Ram Dass, he talks about basically living your life in two planes at the same time, having two channels on. The channel, which is what we're talking about, living with our, the people in our lives and our families and our friends and our work and all the different people and our inspirations. There's that life among all the people where we're often caught in the melodrama and all the drama in our head and all the things that we think are so must happen and mustn't happen and all that malarkey. But another part that's kind of watching it from the audience in a sort of slightly more loving, not particularly dramatic way, just going, oi, and like finding it often quite funny, but in the audience not getting sucked into the drama. So you can see yourself getting sucked into the drama and you're going, oi, 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 calm it down, everybody. And you get a chance to sort of talk to the mad, melodramatic, overreactive diva that lives inside sometimes. If you can stay awake and not get that spiritual, the wise kind of you can stay awake while you're having the trigger. So instead of getting back at them, you go internal. We're so addicted to feeling comfortable. The moment something hurts or someone hurts us or something happened or something happened we don't like, we go external. We battle that person. We go to Facebook. We go to the fridge. We go to try and rearrange life so that doesn't hurt us or come near us. All because we don't want to do the inside thing of actually feeling the vulnerability or the thing we don't want. Because we kind of got this idea we should be comfortable all the time. And I know I'm not saying, yeah, Jamie, I don't want to be uncomfortable. But actually, that discomfort is a vital part of our lives, because it's actually giving us, that so-called pain is giving us all kinds of data and information that we need to take note of. Like, am I putting myself in front of, exposing myself to people that aren't treating me with respect is an important one. That pain in our body asks that question. That pain in the body when we get triggered or someone treats us a certain way is like, am I forgetting to self-care here? Am I showing myself how I'm being a bit of a hypocrite here? Am I making assumptions about their intentions? That's another thing when we get upset. I noticed through scientific surveys, 83% of all my getting upset with people was me totally misunderstanding their intentions and basically being paranoid and expecting that they wanted to front, they weren't. No, they weren't. They were actually trying to be helpful. Even sometimes the most critical people who you think, what a wanker. Sometimes a parent who just gives you so much unasked for advice, you just want to just rip their tongue out of their head. Anyone have a parent like that who just can't stop giving you unasked for advice? But in their mind, they think this is their version of being helpful. They think this is the best they have for you. They're working in their mind to full capacity, unbelievably. That's the most extraordinary takeaway. So you stand back from people and you go, wow, they really are working to full capacity. And there's really little to forgive. It's hard to sort of expect 4-year-olds to understand calculus. And often when people are behaving this way, they just don't have the capacity to behave in a different way. They look like they should, because they've done retreats and they've read The Power of Now, so they know about this stuff. But at that moment of being triggered, they clearly didn't have the capacity, because they got, like all of us, spiritual narcolepsy, and their bodyguard came forward of, one of the different characters. So the predicament we're in is twofold before we even talk about creating the future. There's the first bit, which is our body is trying to unedit all the edits we did, and we're living in this very narrow, small, tight, uptight version. The chemicals that just went off in your body are a great example of how small your island of you is compared to the fucking amazing continent of wildernesses and amazing jungles it could be, I promise. So there's that, the minute aperture we're squeezing ourselves through, and squeezing our interactions and intimacy through. Because when I'm being the small version, safe version of me, and you're being the small, safe version of you, our interaction is going to be a small, safe, surfacey, unsatisfying. How are you? Fine. Oh, how are you? Fine. How are the kids? Fine. Oh, see you Sunday then. Fine. Bye. Bye. Oh, can we live like this anymore? Let's all just jump out the window. Surely we want more than that surfacey thing, and yet so much of life is operated at that level. That's not okay with me. And the lack of potential of each one of the people in here, you're a whole psychodrama of soap operas all in yourself, each one of you. There's so much hilarious insanity in each of us when we really talk about what's really fucking going on in here and out there and how we got here. And there's also this incredible tenderness and opportunity for intimacy. And I don't mean soppy greeting card intimacy. I mean really feeling met and connected with people, which is one of the greatest feelings there is. That's why we love going to gigs or sporting events, because we feel that oneness all together when our band play the music we all love and we all cheer together, or they score the goal of all our teams cheering together. That is like it's the placebo of feeling love and togetherness. You can be standing in a pub next to a total stranger and you wouldn't even have eye contact. It's like, all right, mate, sorry, no, I'm just, But a millionaire on a screen kicks a ball of leather into a net and suddenly you're hugging each other and jumping up and down. What a bizarre placebo. To suddenly start being loving and actually human and connected and excited with this other human that you wouldn't normally even go within your boundaries of. It's so spooky. And we've shut ourselves down so much. So that's one side of it, which is the unediting of that in a safe and comfort zone way without exposing ourselves and traumatizing ourselves. The other side of it is that because of all that suppression and gulping back of anger and gulping back of tears and gulping back of who we really are and all the rest of it, all that unexpressed emotion, as the wonderful Eckhart Tolle, who wrote The Power of Now, says, it gets accumulated in the body and becomes what he calls the pain body, which is basically the unexpressed energetic emotional accumulation that lives in your muscles of all the uncried tears, of all the unscreamed rage, of all the injustices, of all the anxieties, of all the things that didn't get expressed. It's in there somewhere, in some form, remnants of it. And that's why we overreact, because they're hitting that huge, unprocessed, constipated emotional lump of unexpressed emotional poo, basically, that lives in each of us, looking for fucking drama. It loves drama. Now, the reason it loves drama is something that I feel very proud to be, I think, one of the first teachers going there with this, which is because this body is the most self-mending, incredible machine in the universe, it knows it's got this great big lump of unprocessed emotion in it. So what does the body like to do with constipation? It likes to flush it out. It likes to poo it out, basically. And so when you're feeling really triggered, when you're feeling really anxious, when you're feeling those big feelings, it's your body taking that moment to try and offload not just the feeling of what just happened, but some of the lineage as well. It's looking to shit it out, basically. And where does it shit it out from? Where do you feel it when somebody upsets you or you're feeling really rough or anxious or whatever? You feel it kind of somewhere down the front. So the body's incredible plumbing system wants to poo out, basically, all this constipated emotion. It has to be felt on the way out. He wants to poo it out through one of the 7 spiritual anuses that some people call chakras in the well-being circles. They are the holes by which the body flushes out excess emotional trauma. And that's why when somebody really upsets you, you feel it in the belly, or you're feeling anxious, or the solar plexus, or throat, or heart. Basically, when someone's upset you, they've made you just emotionally poo your pants in front of them. That's what happens, isn't it? No wonder we hate those people. If I could just make you do that, you'd hate me as well. No wonder. It's embarrassing, it's vulnerable. But the body is trying to poo out all that stuff. So while we're trying to avoid people that make us uncomfortable, this part of our well-being, the machine genius, is actually actively looking for idiots. Looking for people to upset you so that it can get stirred up, so that it can go and today get rid of today's cup full of shit. Because it's got quite a big backlog, decades and decades to get through. And that's why we're laughing, but it's true. When you wake up in the morning and you feel that heavy feeling on your chest, some mornings you wake up and something's wrong before you've even remembered who you are. And then you start listing, is it the bank account? Have I paid for the thing? How come if I pay that? Oh, that money's coming in. Or you start thinking about something in your relationship. You're feeling anxious, and then you look at your partner and you're still feeling blue and heavy. Now you think there's something wrong with your relationship. So we need to have a talk later. You have an unnecessary talk you didn't need, all because your body was doing an emotional shift. You find a bit where you weren't so busy thinking, weren't so busy in the day, weren't asleep. That little bit in the morning when you wake up, it's quick, get it all out before they start thinking about all their stupid shit again. And that's why often the body takes that moment before you've remembered who you are to kind of offload as well. And you wake up thinking, why am I depressed? Don't go to the mind. It'll try and solve it, because the mind just wants to get rid of that feeling. And what we're becoming now is people who are becoming the opposite. We're becoming wine tasters of that feeling. Because when instead of we go, oh, I don't like edgy feelings, give me Facebook, give me the fridge, give me something else. Whenever we try and run away from those feelings, which is most of the time, we are saying to ourselves, Jamie, your feelings are not okay to feel. It's like we're abandoning ourselves and our fragilities and our tender feelings and the parts of us that are trying to send us messages about our boundaries or how we're pushing ourselves too much or whatever it might be. We're ignoring all that in the name of always feeling comfy. So whenever I work with people, it's like we all have to become humans that can say, I am now a human who's willing to feel some of my uncomfortable feelings. If you can say that, that's, again, an immense step forward. Not everybody can and mean it. And I'm not saying, as I said, deep trauma like punching, I'm not saying massive catharsis, insanity. I'm just talking some of the edgy stuff. Be snorkeling around the edge, to be interested in that. What makes me feel weird? What makes me feel... And start really listening to that, because it's this listening which is the key to the whole thing. We're so externalized, thinking we have to generate this, generate that, do this, control life. We're so busy in the part of us which is our will, our yang, our doingness, that the opposite receptive half, which is our yin, you've all seen the yin-yang diagram. The half of it is the yang, which is the part in all of us that goes out and does stuff and uses our will and decides things and controls life and makes it. And that's how we've all been trained and schooled and in life. Do the thing, get the exam, get to the next level, learn the thing, master it, boom, 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 linear in a line. But there's another whole half of us, which is the yin side of that diagram, which is the part of us that is receptive, that is impacted by the world. A great idea pops into your head. The part of us that is moved, the part of us that's curious, that's listening, the part of us that's the space around something, not the thing that's hitting that thing, not penetrating the thing, being the space around it and listening. And even though that we're never really trained in that, and that's not so trusted in our potentially, do we dare say patriarchal? Who cares? But it's been very linear. And it is a more feminine way to be the space around, the listening, the one that is receptive, the one that is curious. So I'm asking us to be that for these feelings. Rather than push them away, I'm asking us to actually become wine tasters, to become so fascinated and so welcoming of our edgy feelings that actually they start talking to us. And we become a willing participant in this flushing out of constipation. When we do it this way, and we become willing to feel ourselves, which is the beginning of all self-love and self-care, is to be able to say, I am willing to feel my feelings. Not deny them, not suppress them, not fight other people to make sure I never feel them. No, I'm not living in escape my whole life. I'm going to actually turn towards it. And at first people think, oh no, I couldn't possibly feel discomfort. But it's amazingly low-hanging fruit. I promise you, it's very low effort. It's very high yield for low commitment. You don't have to go very, very far towards the edge of the orchard for apples to start falling all over the place. And So as I said, this listening part of it is the key to the whole thing, which is listening to ourselves and trusting what we hear. And then these things that used to be uncomfortable, it doesn't just neutralize pain, it actually transforms it into treasure, into all kinds of illuminations about yourself, about your boundaries, about how you need to self-care, how you need to look after yourself, how you need to be loved, how you need to love. What are the components that make you feel fulfilled? Your creativity. When this listening is open, you really hear your creativity. For me, that yin listening is the beginning of any movie I make, or any book I write, or anything that I'm doing that I'm going to use my will, my creation, my doing stuff in the world energy. It starts with the yin listening, being quite still. And we're a bit scared of stillness because we think it'll be boring. But actually, emptiness and stillness is full. It's full of ideas. And it's actually in that stillness, in that listening, in that curiosity, in my yin, that I go, oh, I'd like to make a film like that. And when I really feel that in my body, in my listening, I know that's verified, that's stamped. Then I say to my yang, my will, my doingness, pack up the car, buy the hammer and nails, make one of those. But my yang is always directed by my yin listening. My masculine is always directed by my feminine in that way. My masculine leadership actually starts with the listening of the feminine curiosity. And it's that part of me that goes, oh, yeah, and feels it in my body. And I trust that feeling. Because the amount of times, think of the times you've been like ripped off or lied to or betrayed or whatever, and someone turned out to be dodgy. What's the first thing you think when that happens, when it's revealed? I fucking knew it. Why didn't I listen to myself? No? You always knew. You didn't listen because we've lost trust in this listening I'm talking about. But this yin listening is the secret to totally creating your future. Not just in relationships, in your careers, in your creativities, in your relationship with yourself, your families. It's this yin listening curiosity is the secret of all the treasure. I learnt it first as a musician. When you realise that most of my adult life, my living was made, I support my family through songwriting and performing and writing songs for other people. And when you write a song, you don't think up a song with your yang will. You don't go, I will play G, then I will play D. You don't do that. You kind of twiddle away aimlessly and you listen and listen. And you hear, oh, that sounds good. And you write it down. You heard it. You're basically a glorified secretary for the muse. And anyone who does creations, or any of you that do even free writing or whatever, when it's really going well, you're not thinking each word up. You're just hearing it almost like a radio coming through, and you're just a conduit. Even though it might sound a bit sort of naff to say that, naff alert. But anyone who does actually write things or make songs or create things will all tell you that when it's going really well, the muse is coming through the wall. It's doing you. And that's yin, it's doing you. And that's why we love any opportunity when we can be yin, because most of our life is yang. Do it, tick the list, survive in the world, don't look too stupid. But the yin doesn't really get so much of a look in, and that's why yin activities, we're like dancing is a yin thing. It's the beat moving you. You're being moved. You're not, unless you're uncomfortable, you're not going left foot, right foot, do the thing with the shoulder, unless you're feeling really uncomfortable. If you're dancing enjoyably, you're being the one impacted by the beat, yes? The beat is moving you. Oh, what a relief. Some people are like, I couldn't live without my dance. I see why. It's the one area of their life where their yin can just expand and be moved and not have to do the house or do the kids or do all the sort of more yang linear stuff that we have to get done. Also, when you laugh or when you smile, we use the active verb, I laugh, I smile. But really, when you smile or when you laugh, you don't do it on purpose. It arises in you, and if you're relaxed enough, it'll come out as a laugh. So really, it's more accurate to say, I am smiled, I am laughed. And you're yin when that happens, because it's just happening to you. So I learned as a musician that how much treasure that the yin is really the channel to the big genius stuff. The yang, the ego stuff that's just busy thinking and doing and constructive, that'll give you a B-. You'll get a 69% or a 72% good thing out of doing that. But if you want the real genius, 80%, 90% more, you want something amazing to come through, it's not going to come through from anything you devised with your thinky mind. It's going to be something that popped in when that combined with that, and then this happened, and whoa, we're geniuses. It just kind of comes through on its own. It's received most of the really, really genius stuff. And that comes from the listening state of actually going still, not from the busy state. But it's not just creations like that. This is true for me in so many of the important areas of life, for the treasure of I want them. So the next area is like parenting. The yin versus the yang. The yin approach, again, gets all the treasure out of the experience. The yang parent is like, get your shoes on, get a haircut, be an accountant, you know. They've got an idea of what that child should be, and they're making it like that. That's kind of yang parenting. But yin parenting, which I'm sure we're all into now, which is the most beautiful way to is you're just the space around the tomato plant, which will grow into whatever shape. You're there just to listen to it and get the signals from it on what kind of tomato plant it wants to be, and you create the perfect environment around it for it to thrive in its natural way, rather than you direct how it thrives. So then you're so listening. That's yin. You're so listening to everything that they're doing, and that listening and the signals you get from them are the thing that tell you what to do as a parent. And you can totally tune into your child. And then we're just supporting them thriving in whatever their destiny will be. And they lead in that way. So that yin parenting, I believe, is the most beautiful way to parent and is the most healthy way to parent. Like Jimi Hendrix says, I love little kids before they've had too many fingerprints put on their brain. And lovemaking, same thing again. That yin listening. If whoever you're with, you're so tuned into them, you're listening to every curve, every sight, every smell, everything that their body is transmitting to you. If you're so tuned in to serving and being devotional to their pleasure by just tuning into every signal you're getting them from, you'll never touch someone wrong. And in fact, you'll probably have the most beautiful lovemaking of your life. If everybody's just tuned into that generous devotion, sensitivity, how can I give you pleasure, make you feel good? That's going to be the most beautiful if you're in that yin listening. Then I'm not saying you can't be yang. You can swing off the chandeliers. You know, where did swing off the chandeliers? So 70s. It's a joke my mum used to say. Like that was the sort of the racy idea of really like crazy sex. Oh yeah, swinging from the chandeliers. Where did that even? I wonder. I bet there's an etymological answer to this question. So the two things that are going on is this unediting process to come back to full unapologetic power, which your body's mending is doing anyway, bringing all those beautiful things out of the shadows and giving permission for a healthy place for your anger, a healthy place for your tears. Rather than bury all the anger and tears, we need to find healthy places for those places to, like some of the greatest characters of literature were written from people's disgusting, rage, mean parts of themselves. We all have these dark parts. Some of the greatest punk rock songs. You know, we need to find healthy places for these darker, more nasty. Gossip is a good one, as long as it's light-hearted, you know you're not really being serious. But being sort of just horribly gossipy, as long as you all know that you're making fools of yourselves, is a legitimate shadow thing. Not when you start really meaning it about that person, but when you're just being silly kind of, at the water pump or whatever, just like it is quite fun just to be mean in a stupid way when you're really sending yourself up. Playing with the kids that way, having a horrible, nasty, disgusting, they love Roald Dahl and all the snot of the twits and the poo and there's all kinds of healthy ways. If you ever meet a punk rocker, I know on the stage they're like, it's loud and disgusting and like yang and like, but if you actually meet one down the street, I don't know if any of you know people in any punk rock bands, they're the softest, fluffiest people you will ever meet in your life. They're always just like, oh yeah, I'm just going around taking something to my mum. Do you want to come with? They're like, they're really like slow and cool. Why? Because they're not being burdened by the same sort of tight, keeping a lid on the rage that everybody else is, because they get it all out on the stage. So in real life, they're much less governed by their anger. And we are much more governed by all the things we suppress, because they leak out at unexpected moments. So we need to find valves, ways that we can play silly games and play with the children and write literature and songs and do some comedy improv or whatever is your thing. Play sports a certain way. You could play sports as like the rageful ogre, and just today I'm playing tennis as a total bad sportsman. It would be a brilliant process to do. Get together with friends and play sports as the worst sportsman in the world, just complaining about every point, throwing the racket on the just let it all out, because it's all in there, and it was so taboo as children to be a bad loser. We'll have to write that down. That's a good game. Someone write that down. We'll play that game another time. Being a bad sports person. So finding fun ways to muck around with it is my specialty. But we have to do it anyway, because that is what life is doing. and to become a willing participant in feeling those, becoming a wine taster of our edgy feelings, because that's the only thing that allows the body to flush out every day another cupful. It needs to do it. So we just have to get over the fact that there's going to be different edgy experiences and use them for the excretion that they are. Rather than when you're feeling depressed or anxious, go, oh no, like something feels bad. You go, oh good, something's leaving. When you wake up feeling depressed, it's not depressing just sitting there. If you go in there and go, oh hello mate, just like we were before, if you're just welcoming, just trusting, oh my body's doing a poo. You wouldn't, if your child was doing a constipated poo, you wouldn't be going, oh no, no, no. You just go, don't worry mate, I'll just hold your hand. You have to just be present with a child with constipation. You don't need to do anything, but it just kind of needs you there when it's 3 or 4 years old. So you just like hold there, like hold its hand. And that's what we've got to do with ourselves. When we're feeling triggered emotionally, we just need to just hold our hand and go, it's all right, it's all right. Because that's what's happening. You're doing a little emotional poo. And if you become a willing participant, you become a fucking ninja black belt master. And you realize that all the from the ninja point of view, we're upgrading our software from Victim 101 to Warrior 305. As you upgrade to Warrior 305, at Victim 101, all these difficult people, they're like, oh, things I have to suffer, and why is life like this? Why me? You know, this whole thing, as if we should be comfortable all the time. But from Warrior 305, when you look through those eyes at the world, you suddenly realize all these difficult, challenging situations and people, from that point of view, are really walking laxatives. That's what the difficult people in your life are. They're helping you poo out your old constipation, if you use them correctly, like the ninja you could be. So I start with that. I don't know how long I've been talking, I apologize, a bit long-winded. But those two concepts...
Do not talk about Trump.
But those two concepts, before we even think about creating our future, this excretion and unediting is going on anyway. And we want it to be. We want to unedit ourselves a bit more and bring a bit more of ourselves to each other and a bit more of our mess and a bit more of our who we really are, because it's actually our eccentricities that we all fall in love with in a deeper connection with each other as lovers or as friends. The reason you're attracted to people is because they're a bit like, oh, I'm a bit weird. You know, like, it's because there's something about them, you know, there's a bit eccentric or a bit edgy or a bit comfortable with this or a bit like you feel like, oh, a bit real or a bit something. You never, it's not their appropriate side you thought. When did you ever hear anybody go, have you met Brian? He's so fucking appropriate. He turns me on. No. And yet those are the bits we're hiding, weirdly, because we want to play it safe and we don't want to look too vulnerable, don't want to look too needy, don't want to look like an idiot, don't want to look like we're failing, don't want to look like we're too keen, don't want to look like we're too eccentric. You know, whatever is your list, which is extensive for everybody, it's always running, and it's not always running in the front mind. That's the scary part, is it's running in the unconscious, making you turn away from this person or turn left or turn right or not go to the thing or make all kinds of decisions about your life based on this very deep unconscious list of 5-year-old beliefs. And that's why I do what I do, is like we're all living in this prison in the unconscious of all these childhood beliefs. And when we play certain games and when we decide to actually look at the content of our thoughts and be willing to feel those feelings and do the kind of things I've been talking about today, suddenly all that stuff reveals itself to you. And you're no longer the slave, the unconscious zombie to all that stuff. And you actually can have a wakeful, present, creative life. Then you can create your future. So that's basically the bottom line. And there's so many different games that we could play today to explore that. And I'm thinking what would be like the least traumatic. What time is it now? That was nearly an hour. I fucking love the sound of my own voice. I mean, you're going to sit here. Oh. So yeah, you know what? I think I would just like to, because it's like the tool of tools, which the whole thing works around. I think the most efficient, I'm all about the efficiency of the games. Like I don't care about the, you know, I just want the simplest, most doable, repeatable tools that anybody can do all the time. And I guess I think the most useful thing to definitely start off with would be to turn on that yin and give you an example of using that yin as an efficient tool and how an actual experience of what I've just been talking about, which will be inside the body. Yeah, I think that's the best thing. Does anybody need a toilet break before we jump into a 20-minute exercise? Should we have like a 10-minute little thing? Let's make it a 7-minute thing, and then we might actually start in 10 minutes, yes? Good Pavlovian puppies. We'll get there. So the practice that the overall title we call the practice of switching on our yin and having that intuitive listening part of ourselves. Because you can't self-care if you're not feeling yourself on the inside. How can you know what your needs are and how you feel if you're not listening to how you feel? You can't do it. When was the last time you asked yourself, put your hand on your heart and said, how do I feel right now? What do I need? It's a really good thing to stop and do. And in fact, I instruct or request nearly all my sort of clients or groups I work with after the session to set your phone to bleep every 20 minutes of your waking life. And every time you hear it bleep, you just stop what you're doing, you just put your hand in your chest and just go internal. You go inside, you go, oh, well, hello, how do you feel? What do you need? And act on that, really listen to that. It's amazing how many days we may go without ever going internal and seeing how we feel. Maybe years for some people. But going internal and seeing how we feel is the compass of everything to me. I can't know the feeling unless I'm internal first. And then I know the difference between yes and oh, that might be good, that might make some money, but doesn't really feel alive, but maybe that will do it. You know, the difference between the head's idea of what might play it safe or do, and the heart going, actually this is juicy, feeling attracted, and trusting that attraction is my compass. I really trust it. That's how I think. Whatever is spiritual, whatever is bigger than my self-cherishing ego trying to grasp around and make sure everything is okay, whatever's bigger than that, the way it speaks to me is through making me excited about something, making me feel inspired about something. Then I'm feeling inspired, you know, like the spirit's coming in. And then I know I'm aligned, and I've learned to trust that as my compass. Even if it makes me look a bit stupid, even if it risks a bit of vulnerability, it's always treasure. So I just want to take us on a little thing now. This full body listening is like having a motion sensitive camera on how we feel on the inside, always, always on. It's always on, even though you may not be looking at its screen, you may not be picking up its data. If some emotion starts moving, it switches on and gives you a beep, 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 solar plexus, they've pissed us off again, bleep, bleep, bleep. But you have like a person-shaped person on your dashboard now, with different lights at the different places. Sudden poo going on in the belly, oof in the belly, betrayal. Reminds me of my childhood when they didn't pick me to play five-a-side football. Or when they laughed at me when I wore that colourful thing. You know, never wear bright colours. There's at least one of you here who got laughed at wearing something a bit racy, a bit colourful, and decided to pretty much never wear bright colours ever again. How many? Anyone here? It's a bit too vulnerable to ask. Okay, overstepping the marks there. You know who you are. You are your own witness. I don't need to know, I just need you to know, you know. That's the kind of thing we notice. And when we notice, we go, oh, hello. We never go, oh, why am I like that? I'm so unspiritual. That voice means you're asleep. If you're ever hearing the voice that goes, oh, I didn't do any yoga. Oh, you've eaten all the biscuits. Oh, and now you're going around the kitchen looking for more biscuits. What's the matter with you? Those are stale. You can't eat those. Don't eat that. Or whatever. If any of those self-exasperated, judgmental, self-harming voices are speaking, it means the real you is asleep. So whenever you hear that voice, it's like your alarm bell going, oh, waking up, wise and kind, don't be silly, have another biscuit. Yeah. So it all comes down to this, what we call full body listening, which means you've got a motion sensitive camera that knows how you feel on the inside and where you feel it at any given moment. That is so you can be a willing participant for the plumbing that's always going to be going on, and for the messages of that unediting of the different parts of yourself that are trying to go, excuse me, I'm part of life too. Those different parts of yourself that we've decided are not for public consumption, or I'm not like that, or that's too risky, or whatever, that's stupid, or that's childish. All those parts of us, actually many of them have treasure with them and want to come back. So for both those processes, the full body listening is key. And we're going to go on a little internal journey now to just switch on. I guess what we could do this evening is just switch on level 1 full body listening. And it probably takes about 15 or so, maybe 18 max minutes. And it involves probably having your eyes shut. So is there anything anyone would like to ask, or anything before we do this little internal thing? I don't like to use the word meditation, contemplation, whatever you want to call it, reflection. We're just going to turn on our full body listening, because it's one of the most, once this is on in your life and you start reminding yourself to use it, the neuroplasticity of your brain, which works by repetition, you will be amazed at how useful, multi-purpose this full body listening is. It's like a Swiss army knife times 1,000,000. It's like 1,000 household uses. It's just for everything. So I'm just going to give some just basic, and some of you would have done some of this before, but even if you have, I invite you this time to just imagine that you haven't. Imagine this is the first time you've ever actually felt inside your body. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for a little walk inside our body. So if you're ready, please, if you're feeling comfortable, close your eyes. And just feel what it feels like to be breathing. Just noticing I'm breathing in, noticing I'm breathing out. Not doing anything clever with the breath, just noticing I'm breathing in, noticing I'm breathing out. And this is the in emergency break glass thing you have no matter what pickle is going on. If you close your eyes and come back to your breath 3 times, just notice you're breathing in, notice you're breathing, come back to yourself. You're immediately an adult again. And that wise equanimity part of you has a possibility to take the wheel back from whatever overreaction just started happening. So just breathing in, breathing out. And as we're doing that, we allow the corners of our lips to turn up at the sides and the muscles around our face and eyes to soften, allowing our mouth to go into a kind of a smile shape, even if you have to slightly put it there like a goon. And as you put your mouth into the smile shape, you just feel that flicker of kindness that lives inside you. That simple, peaceful sense of kindness and simplicity that kind of is you. As you smile into the breath, you just allow that simple, kind smile that you really are. Just allow it, and any emotion coming up, just allow that to be in the breath. Just allow the kind smile to be the breath. So now you're inhaling the kind smile, exhaling the kind smile, creating like a smile tide in and out, and the central nervous system absolutely loves it. Every out breath is a little bit more relaxed and soft. The jaw going soft, the shoulders going soft. Every out breath is a softening and a yielding. Inhaling the kind smile, exhaling the kind smile. And as we're breathing in and breathing out, we notice that we're breathing through our face mainly, through apertures in our face. But even though we're breathing through our nostrils or our mouth, we notice we can move the sense of breathing anywhere on our body. We can allow the sense of breathing to drift down past our throat, to our heart, to our chest, and now feel like we're breathing in from a point in the middle of our chest. So you're inhaling the kind smile, filling up the torso. And it's like lovely rose domestos, but the nice kind. that is just cleaning and washing and relaxing. Domestos is probably the wrong word. Inhaling the kind smile, exhaling the kind smile, just allowing that to fill up the torso and any relaxation in the heart, just everything softening. You can even allow it to sink lower, all the way down to the tummy, letting your belly or your tummy go totally limp. And now as you breathe in, filling up from just below the belly button, as if you're like a baby, just smiling, filling up the belly with a lovely kind smile and that sense of peaceful kindness and curiosity. Just a simple sense of curiosity of wherever, noticing any feelings, any emotions, any sensations, just noticing how it all feels in there, what it feels to be on the inside of your body, any sensations at all, tightness, looseness, any emotion. We're going to go through a walk through the body and take a little inventory of how it's all feeling. And we're going to start at the top of the head, like the lovely Vipassana people. And I'm going to imagine that you've got like a flat radar. The flat radar, like the surface of water, passing from the crown of your head. It's going to go down through your body and it's going to light up in 3D any feelings, any tensions, any stuckness, any numbness. We're just going to do a 3D image, and as we're breathing in and out with the kind smile breath, that's what moves the radar and lights up what's inside. It's like blowing on embers. As you inhale the kind smile and exhale the kind smile, it makes the radar light up with the 3D imaging of your feelings and where they are. So we're going to start at the top of the head, like this lovely flat surface of water radar, very slowly coming down, inhaling and exhaling. And you feel your skull plates, any tension in those, anything around the crown or just lower, all around, and your temples, and your brain in the middle, if you feel anything in there. Just feeling anything strong or stuck or numb or anything that feels anything, just notice. We're going for one of our first walks to notice everything. The ears, the inside of the ears, behind the ears, the jaw joint, letting that soften. The nose, the nostrils, the cheekbones, the eye sockets. Whatever speed you like, descending gradually through the head. The teeth, all the roots of the teeth, and the tongue, and the throat, and the back of the skull where the first highest vertebrae meet the skull. That's an interesting spot. How does that feel? Just being the spacious, curious breath around it. We're not doing anything busy. We're just noticing how everything feels. Down vertebrae by vertebrae and all the tubes of the throat, the neck. Every out-breath, a little release. Just noticing anything at all. Anything that feels strong or blocked. Or numb, or anything noticeable. Down through the shoulders meeting the upper arms, and the collarbones and sternum, and the vertebrae that go down into your back. And all the way through your heart, that incredible machine with its chambers and valves and arteries, pumping away all the way through when you were in utero, all the way through your life, still going, unbelievable machine. Breathing into that gratefully, noticing how it feels. And I invite you to have a little feel and a sense in the area behind the heart, between the heart and your spine. Have a little feel in there. Oh, hello. It's often a little bit tender and interesting in there. Feel how that feels. Going down, there's the liver, the battering that it's taken. Incredible machine, detoxifying, doing all kinds of jobs, regulating the other organs. The kidneys round the back. Lower down the intestines and the pancreas and the spleen and the other lower vertebrae. Down into the hip joints and the genitals and the bum and all the machinery inside. Incredible, just unfathomable genius machinery. Can even reproduce another one of us. Amazing. Down through the thighs and the femur and the incredibly complex and amazing knees. and the tendons and the muscles down the calves, in the joints of the ankle and the intricacies of the bones and muscles and tendons of the feet, this multi-angular jumping, pushing, balancing feet we have, toes, all the way into the ground. And we're just going to go, because we're doing it in such detail, we're just going to have another pass, maybe slightly faster, just to notice if it feels the same or different, just to etch it one more time and make it more natural for us in our brains, in our neuroplasticity. We repeat it. We start at the crown of the head again. And just once again, the flat radar with your smiling breath travelling down the skull plates and the temples, down through your face and eye sockets and ears, just noticing how everything feels, the jawbone, the jaw joint, the cheeks and tongue, the teeth and the roots, down through the throat and the shoulders, just breathing around those places, noticing anything tight or anything strong or anything blocked or anything that just doesn't feel quite usual, whatever it is, down the sternum and the heart, the upper arms, the armpits, that cheeky area behind the heart, between the heart and the spine. We always say hello there just in case. And your nipples or breasts, and your liver and the vertebrae going down, kidneys, spleen, pancreas, intestines, hip joints, genitals, bum, machinery. The lower back, how does that feel? Can you let one lovely breath just loosen up the lower back? Noticing any emotions, noticing the mind maybe getting bored, wanting to drift, just coming back to the body again, down through the legs and the knees, down through the calves, noticing how anything feels or any emotion feels or anything feels. We're internal, just noticing how we feel. We're going to take it to the next level now. So we've taken the radar through, and we now have this lovely radar, which I want you to keep your radar moving. You can have it fast or slow, but just have that internal sense, just noticing how you're feeling. We're going to take it to the next level. I want you to now recall, while you're doing this lovely radar, I want you to recall the last episode that upset you or triggered you. Please don't choose an 8, 9 or a 10 level. Choose a 4 or a 5 or a 6, 7 if you're feeling feisty. But don't choose some great trauma, massive thing. Just something in the last weeks, in recent weeks or months that upset you or triggered you or made you angry, or a medium level one. And I just want you to recall what happened. And as you recall what happened, you will notice somewhere inside your body wakes up and says hello. So when you recall that thing, somewhere in your body tightens up or starts going, or somewhere in you will start waking up. And I'd like you to place the palm of your hand on that place. As you recall what happened, where in your body starts saying hello. And when you find that place gently, curiously, just place your gentle maternal or paternal big brother, big sister hand on that place. And now we're localizing the radar. So instead of this lovely smiling breath radar going from crown to toe, I just want you to allow it to go back and forth gently with the smiling breath, just where that feeling is. So it's now just going back and forth, revealing the 3D shape of that feeling, like a visual 3D radar as you breathe with the radar going, passing back and forth gently through that shape. I want you to be looking at the radar and look at what shape, where in the body is that shape. I want you to just look at it. And what shape is it in our 3D imaging breath system? What shape is it? Just have a look at it. And every time I ask a question, I want you to imagine you're looking at it as the first time ever as I ask the question. So what shape is it now? Maybe it's already changed a little bit. We're just breathing in and around. If there's any dissolving or recalibration to do, we don't have to do it. The body's genius will do it. Our only job is to be here being curious. That's all we have to do. The body's genius knows how to dissolve stuff and move it around. It's not our job. Our job is just to breathe with it in and out and go hello and be welcoming and notice what shape it is. And as you're looking at it so brilliantly, tell me or notice, what colour is it? What colour is it as you look at it right now? What shape is it and what colour is it? Breathing gently in and around it. And how big is it? What shape is it? What colour is it? How big is it? Just looking, letting the radar go back and forth, really being willing to feel it, instead of running away from it, going be like, wow, hello, being really curious with it. And what texture is it? As you look at it for the first time now, is it sandy or is it smoky or is it like jelly? Is it still or is it moving? Just as a sensation, we're just interested in it, just allowing the lovely local radar to go back and forth. Where is it now? For the first time, look at it. Where is it now? Has it moved slightly or is it exactly where it was? And what colour is it now? As if you're looking at it, feeling it for the first time. What colour is it right now? And what shape is it right now? Keep breathing with it. And what texture? Is it moving? Is it still? Just smiling, being very welcoming and curious. That's the attitude. Oh, hello. It's the spiritual path of oh, hello. We'll do one more set of those questions. Just breathing with that shape, that feeling. Once again, just noticing, how big is it now? Where is it now? Is it staying still? Is it moving? What shape is it? What 3D shape as we smile with the breath? And what colour? What colour is it now? And what texture is it? So maybe it's changed from how it was right at the start. Maybe it hasn't. But we're going to take it to the next level now. Just again, with a very welcoming and curious attitude, we're going to go to the next level of treasure that the Yin curiosity listening can give us. We're going to the next level now. So just still staying with that feeling and staying with that shape. What we're going to do now is we're going to interview it. We're going to ask that shape some questions, and we're just going to sit in the Yin curious space and listen to see if it says something back inside us. I call these questions the unpretentiously named 5 golden keys of alchemy. And these are the 5 questions we're going to ask that feeling as if it has a personality. As if that feeling has a little mouth and a little personality, that feeling inside. We're just going to ask it these questions. The first question we're going to ask it, and all I want you to do is just ask the question and just sit in space, see if anything comes back. Not try and solve the answer, not try and think up an answer. Just ask the question and see just what comes back sensibly or nonsensically. The first question we ask that feeling is, with what happened, with this upsetting experience, whatever it was, with what happened, if I had set this experience up as a training simulation, what was I trying to show myself? If this upsetting situation had actually been a training simulation for me on some level, what was I trying to show myself or teach myself? Just ask that to the shape. If this was a training, what was I training myself in here? How was it a training? The second question we ask, still staying gratefully present and curious with this lovely shape, we're good at being welcoming now. We ask it, how is what happened a reminder for me to self-care in a way that I've forgotten to or neglected to? How is what happened a reminder for me to self-care in a way that I've forgotten to or neglected to? Just see if there's any answer coming back around that. Did I forget to self-care, or is it reminding me to be more careful in some way. Self-caring. How is it a reminder to self-care? And the third question we ask, and we love sitting in space now, the third question we ask that feeling, that little character that lives in there, we ask, how is what happened an invitation for me to show up more, be more honest, be more vulnerable, be more authentic? How is what happened an invitation for me to show up more, be more honest, visible, authentic? We ask the question, was this an invitation for me to be more honest and visible? The fourth question we ask it is, how did this hurt more because of my painful past? We ask that feeling, how did this hurt more because of my painful past? And we recognize what comes back there. How did it hurt more because of my past, my painful past? Feeling any emotions, if there are any, just any feelings at all around there. Noticing what shape that feeling is now, still breathing and being with it. The last question we ask is, through all of this, what are the gifts I can share with others? Through all this, what are the gifts I can share with others? Just see if anything comes back. What are the gifts I can share with others? And very gently now rubbing that place, thanking that place, being grateful that these messages in the body, we have this grace to be able to go inside and turn what was pain into an alchemical harvest. Thanking that little voice. And I'd like you to remind that little place in there, I will always be willing to feel your feelings with you. I will not run away from your feelings. No matter who comes and who goes and who says this and who does that, I will always be willing to feel your feelings with you. I will not abandon you. Your feelings are worth feeling. And thank it for all that illumination and that collaboration. Thanking the body for the lovely dissolving and moving stuff around that it geniusly does all the time. Feeling grateful for this incredible system once we become willing participants like today that is trying to clean us out and keep us wise, keep us true. And we've built up such beautiful medicine in this room. I just want to do one more thing while our eyes are closed. I want you to choose somebody who isn't here. Choose someone who's outside this room, someone or somewhere outside of this room that you feel could do with a good blast of this lovely medicine that we've conjured up together today. Choose someone or somewhere outside of this room that you feel could do with a good blast of this positive energy, and feel the connection, like a connection cable between us and them. It's like a superconductor cable, and it can take a whole river of this lovely energy down it if it wants. Feel it connecting securely with us. That's it, and feel it connecting down securely with them. And whenever you're ready, let's just send a whole river of this beautiful, conscious, present, loving energy down the line to that person or place. We can do it now. See it have its transformational effect in your mind's eye. That's the magic. See it transform, heal, fill with hope or light or health or peace, whatever feels good for you. See it have its transformational effect, and nod to yourself the yes of that happening. And last of all, I want you to now connect to the unfinished part in you yourself that corresponds perfectly with this person or place, the unfinished or unhealed part of you that matches or corresponds this person or place perfectly in some way, and feel the potential of that healing energy between you in that relationship, down to them, back to you, down to them, back to you, and feel that beauty back and forth from us to them, to us, to them. Inhabiting your whole body, wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, rubbing your belly. And over the next few breaths, gently coming into the room, you can rub your face or your tummy or both. Head for the bell. Over the next few breaths, gently coming back in. Thank you for doing that with me. Can you imagine if on a day-to-day level that part of you was switched on alongside your daily life? How different life would be. So our job is to not be like just meditating on a cushion for half an hour or 40 minutes and then go into the busy day. To me, meditation is what we were just doing, is being totally hyper aware of how you feel, what you need, what's actually going on internally, while being with the outside. So meditation in a way is from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, is to know how you feel at all times and how you're relating to everything else, rather than make the everything else the main focus. My life has changed so much for the better, where instead of tracking everyone else and working them out and how I can get the best from them or how I can work it with them, I watch how I am around them. It's much more useful to watch how I am around you than to watch you. Because I see where, oh, I wanted to start pleasing that person, or oh, I wanted to run away from that person, or I got an intuition that that person's dodgy. They sound nice, but I'm not getting it. And start to really believe those feelings. When you start doing what we did today and live there as like part of your life, as like alongside the rest of your life, you have this channel now on. The data is unbelievable and it's never wrong. And you save a fortune on going and getting your bumps felt with other kind of people to tell you what to do with your life. And, therapists and healers. And of course, there's a place for all that stuff. But there's no one going to give you a better reading of what is the truth than stillness, putting both hands on your womb, even if you're a boy, and asking certain questions. You get the truth back. You may not like it. You get your truth back. You may not like it. You may not act on it. But you know what's true for you. And it isn't from the mind doing a pros and cons list for the important things in life, like relationships. Should I stay with him? Well, I really like his beard, but he smokes too much pot. He's rich, but he has not worked it out with his mother. Or whatever, But if you actually just put both hands on the womb, is this the right person for me? No. Oh. Or yes. But it's not about the data. The deeper part of us knows. Is this the right job for me? It's also can be really inconvenient listening to that voice. It seems in the short term that what we had in mind was much safer and easier. But if you really follow it, there's, I believe, a greater stream of genius, whether it be the genius that will come through in the song, the genius that will come through in really being the unique parent that child needs, or making love the most beautiful way, or creating your projects the most beautiful way. Having that motion-sensitive listening camera as the compass, for me, has been the thing that turned everything from black and white into colour and empowered it. And even the projects that didn't necessarily make a lot of money, they were some of the best times I had. When you follow this compass, the criteria for whether it was worth doing or not changes. Right now, because of our weird upbringing, we think the criteria of doing a project or a song or a poem is it got me lots of nice feedback and people loved it, and it made money for me. Now the beautiful, the muse, the lovely thoroughbred animal that is the muse, that is wild and untamed and you never know when it's going to visit you, it's not meant to be saddled like a donkey to carry your self-esteem issues up the hill. It's not meant to get you anything. It's something we're devotional to. That's what the yin is. So our criteria often for doing projects and creating our future is kind of a bit askew to start with. It's the yin that will know what is the best, compass to trust, in my opinion, in my humble, semi-humble opinion. And that kind of brings us to a kind of lovely point at which it feels like we should take a break. We could have a Q&A on some of that if you would like, if anyone has any questions for like 15 minutes. And then I think it would be nice to have a break. But if anyone has any particular questions about anything I've raised or anything, don't bother saying things you disagree with. Just kidding. But anything you agree with and want to compliment me on, I'd love to hear. No, but any questions or anything at all, we have a little bit of time, yeah.
If you get triggered and it triggers a reaction at an inconvenient time,
yes.
What do you do about that?
Well, no matter how inconvenient a time, unless you're in a car with them on the motorway, which can be a very big time that happens, you can usually take 5 minutes space. Even if you're in the office, every part of you wants to get in it with that person and no you didn't, or no I didn't, whatever. But if you're feeling really triggered, if you can just sort of get some space from them and still really feel the trigger, this is it. It's not to like make it go away. That's the most important thing. All we're about is turning towards. We're not getting rid of. So you go in and you go, oh, wow, solar plexus exploding, hello, whew, that is a big reaction. I want to push a rusty nail into your eye. Okay, that's not good. I'm not going to do that. So you still feel all that urge for murder, but you don't actually give it the wheel. And then you can be with it with like what we just did, or various other ways that you can just allow it to be and not make it all about what that person did. Other people's wrongness is the biggest distraction to this process, because the deliciousness of that person being in the wrong and us being in the right sometimes just takes over everything, and we just don't bother to go inside now because they're so wrong. Let's just deal with that, because once and for all I'm right. In our righteousness kind of, in our one time that we are this time in the, can take over and be very distracting to what we really, really most efficiently could do, which is be a black belt ninja noticer and go inside first before we deal with any of the external. So always take some space and go and be willing to feel that feeling, what shape it is, what colour it is, whatever it takes, listen to it, what it wants to say, and you will notice the charge goes down, and when that upset child is being heard and being felt, it won't want to go and pick a fight with that person anymore. You're back to being an adult now. So now you go and talk to whoever said that or did that, and you can say, hey, you know, when you did that, that didn't feel good, or that's a boundary. You can actually express yourself as an adult, not a regressed child. So it's always worth taking the space, especially in couples. We always think we've got to work it out right then, and actually, you know what, when you're triggered, your limbic system and your fear reptilian stuff, there's no chance. And you almost pretend to yourself that you're not triggered, just so you can get it out what's off your chest. So anytime you can catch yourself do that and resist is better for the relationship. You know, it will. But if you can do it once, it's a rodeo horse covered in Vaseline. If you can do it once in 10, you're the Buddha. You know, it's not about getting a big average. Don't get exhausted. Oh, I'm back to square one. You'll be to get. You know, if you do it once out of 10, it's a miracle. It's slippery, and those voices that come in, they seem so convincing. Your righteous voice, your defensive voice, your victim voice, your vengeful voice, they all seem to be truly you when they get control of your mouth. We are ventriloquist puppets for our demons when we fall asleep. And to know the difference is the ball game. Yeah.
About children, when you were talking about the yin and listening to them and letting them guide you, that isn't exactly what you said, but how, we're trying to do our best for our children, and we have that knowledge that they don't have, and if you're going to listen to them rather than try and guide them, try not to order them, but
no, you listen to them to tell you how you should guide them. You don't just guide them with a prerequisite, kids should be like this, with your projection and your ideas. You listen, you see where they're going, and you guide it. So of course you want them to be honest, you want them to be kind, you want them to have the qualities and realize that, biting people and hitting people isn't okay. But do you put a rule on never bite, and make a punishment at 6 o'clock for that and impose a whole structure on this being illegal and this being, or do you listen deeply to the child, and at the same time as making sure they don't hurt their sister, you're also listening to what's really going on that child would be hitting its sister, rather than just stopping it being a hitter. You go, why is it hitting his sister? Oh, he's jealous because he didn't get hardly any attention today, and she's getting lots of attention because she got a prize at school, or there's usually a fear or a legitimate need under both children and adults' shitty behavior. So we often use, because the child is behaving badly, that therefore they lose their right to having their legitimate need met. That's how screwed up we are. Well, you're only going to get your legitimate need met when you ask nicely. And the child doesn't have the capacity to ask nicely, nor does a grown-up half the time when we're triggered. But we hold them to ransom and say, no, I'm going to not give you the love and not give you the nice connection, not give you the thing you want until you do it the way I want you to do it. And that's really toxic. Still meet the legitimate need even when they're behaving like an arse. The legitimate need is more important than their surface level crappy behaviour.
Sometimes their legitimate need is that if they're not getting what they want, and maybe that's not what, like if they're not getting their ice cream, for want of a better word.
Yeah, if you're still calling it that this is a good experience for them to not have what they want, that's your call. But make sure you're listening to that rather than just being stroppy and no, I said it earlier, you know what I mean? You know the difference. If you're truly the wise, kind, listening, sensitive one, you won't bully them. You'll make the right decision, and it will often be no ice cream. Yeah, I mean, fuck them and their ice cream. Is there another hand up that I see? Oh, good. So you understand everything. Okay.
So, of course, we all want to have this wonderful yin connection with our children. But the reality of life is that, we're juggling a lot of roles, and we need to be on time for our appointments, otherwise other people also get consequences. So, what happens if there's a tension and there's not enough resourcefulness in the system when the yang goes first?
With the kids particularly. I would say structure your life better. It's your fault that you're late in the morning, you shouldn't be rushing out of the house. It's not, set the alarm earlier and factor in that kids take longer rather than, or if you've got the meeting later, factor it in that they're going to need a certain amount of attention or your full presence during dinner. Structure it in those difficult days much, much more consciously. We don't leave enough time and then we get stressed because we're late for school and we've got to get the thing to work. It's not their problem, and yet we treat them like shit, like, oh, why haven't you got your shoes on? And it's like, it's your fucking stupid fault for getting up. Get up 20 minutes earlier if you've got kids and save everybody the big melodrama. I'm not saying you can do that for every single thing, but probably 75% of the dramas are self-created by us not structuring our day properly. Like I was once with a partner who was always late. And I would say, come on, it's 8 o'clock, we're doing this thing. And they would swan down the stairs at 8:10, and it doesn't really matter. And you just learn to say, actually, we need to leave at 7:45. And then anyone can swan down 10 minutes late and you're still sitting there as relaxed as pie. Factor in looking into the future of the areas which historically in your family become friction areas. No, it's always the school run, or it's always when I have the meeting on Wednesday and my husband isn't there to help, or there's usually patches which are the sort of, and if they're creating that stress, that's like an out of tune note on the piano.
That's all is just stressing. Like, I'm listening to this and like, okay, I need to be young even more, to be like structured and plan my life.
Well, it might be more yin to go listening, going, I need to get up 15 minutes earlier so I don't drive my children mad on the school run. It doesn't.
It's not about the school run. It's about those moments where the resources are not just there. Like sickness, or it could be.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sick and you've hardly got anything, then you have to do the best of what you can. You have to reach out to other people to support. There's no magic formula when you're sick, but the rest, if you're not sick, then you not having the resources, I know I'm sounding a bit strict here, but unless you're sick, which is a bona fide thing, then you not having the resources, again, is about how you're spending your life exhausting yourself in areas where you're not taking care of yourself. You're taking on too much. Who needs to do, there will be some days which are overwhelming for every human being, but the general living of life, if you've structured it so you've got enough energy for the things in your life you want to do, then you wouldn't be getting yourself into that kind of pickle. So I think there's still a lack of listening to your needs, their needs. And I don't mean structure as in make a timetable. I mean, if you're finding regularly that you're not resourced and you're too exhausted around the children, then I would say you're probably doing too much.
Well, it's a choice.
Yeah, and I'm saying your choice to do that much, the payoff is you're exhausted and having these big dramas. The answer to not do, the feeling of being unresourced and whatever is the problem. That problem is coming because, you're trying to fit in too much, it sounds like. If you're feeling regularly unresourced, that's usually why. Spread too thin. So I would look into what are the things, energy in versus energy out. I want my career, I want to be a mother, I want to do this, that and the other. It needs to be like realistic rather than doing everything averagely well and stressed at work and not quite present with the children. It might be better to sort of focus and do less things better, maybe. But I want to say it's up to you. It's not something that's happening to you because life is so crazy. It's your life and you're making it how you want to make it. Sure.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Finished? When you were doing the body scan, you mentioned, I think maybe twice, just referred briefly to the space behind your heart.
Cheeky.
Can you talk to me a bit more about that?
It just happens that a lot of people never breathe and go through the nooks and crannies of their body ever.
Yeah.
But even the people that do, it's just one of those areas, because the heart is such a dominant kind of, it's the heart. Everyone just concentrates as they go down on the heart, and a really kind of significant area always gets skipped because the heart is always like the sort of, the Michael Jackson of the organs. And so like the area behind the heart doesn't get a look in. And so it's one of the most juicy and secret little areas that I like to focus on, because did you feel anything around there? A little bit of...
No, I was just wondering about that while telling me.
All right. Yeah, I just find that was like there's certain areas of the body that get a bit neglected and we skip, and when you go there, you go, oh, there's tenderness in there. Hi.
Just wanted to confirm when you say following your yin, you almost saying just follow your gut instincts.
Pretty much always.
Because one of the things I find is that I have the gut instinct and I'll try and fight against it.
Yes.
And then I'll go back, as what you just said before, and I'll go, I was right. And, and I'm going through a lot of that at the moment. And, I'm just confirming that I am right in following my
Yeah.
That's what
And you will have bumps.
I just want to confirm.
Yeah,
that,
and it will include
that's one
bumps.
thing.
It will include bumps along the way. It's not like it's therefore everything will always be plain sailing. There will be bumps, but they will be the bumps, educational bumps. There'll always be pain in different moments. Whether we go, oh no, this shouldn't be happening, get me away, that's suffering. The pain doesn't always need to turn into suffering.
Feelings, especially with people, when you get that sort of, I'm a bit suspicious of that person.
Yeah, listen to that.
Yeah.
And also be ready to be wrong. Be ready to be shown that, oh wow, I was actually just treating them like that uncle I didn't like. And therefore, if you're really listening and paying attention, suddenly you get little messages and aha moments of like, oh wow, I really, like I've had times where I've like, most of the time read people, when you read someone wrong, it's like, God, I was really like...
That's what I'm trying to, that's what I'm...
Yeah, so
that's my question.
trust it, but keep an eye on it. Be
Yeah,
ready to be...
being judgmental in that way.
Exactly.
And,
Give everybody every chance,
yeah.
but listen to that voice, and you can have people on probation. Great. Well, I hope that wasn't all too yang.
I've got one more question.
One more.
Actually, around yin and yang. It's something to do with the relationship between the yin and the going inside, and then moving that love, the scoop of love. It feels like it's scooping the love and moving it out into the yang. It's that point. There's a kind of magical point at which you give that listening and that love to the world. And it's like, how do you really know when you really connect to the yang bit? It's like that point of contact of moving it then out into the world from a place of real integrity and real listening. It's like that's that about the parenting stuff and about kind of getting the children out of the door with a nurtured yang, kind of like a loving yang.
Through trial and error.
Trial and error,
Yeah, and just noticing, oh no, I lost it there, I was an arse. Have to apologise to the kids later. Or, God, that was good this morning. You just kind of, you saw what, because everyone's a different flavour. What I'm talking about is like kind of binary lumps. Everyone within that, you've had different upbringings, different cultures. You know what works for you, what your tolerance is, how close you live to the thing. Everyone's got to sort of fit this to your own thing, but just be your own witness on what feels the most aligned. And I mean, I do believe in a kind of soul. I do believe in a guiding force which is beyond my grasping, self-cherishing ego. And I find that it doesn't matter if you get it wrong. That's the great thing through trial and error, because if it's an error, your soul shows you pretty quickly, no, that's not what. And if it's flowing, it's flowing. So a lot of people are worried about in relationships, sort of, oh, what if I go back to them and I make the wrong choice? It's like, don't worry, go back to them if you're unsure about it. Make the wrong, because if it is the wrong choice, believe me, within 3 weeks you'll know. So you can't make a wrong choice for long. It shows itself if you're paying attention. So wow, that was quite an intense couple of hours. Thank you for going there with me. And there's books over here. We're going to take like a 15-minute break before there's a panel.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. That was juicy.